Welcome back to the Bit by Bit podcast. Today I have Danny Brewster. We're going to talk some Bitcoin. Could you introduce yourself, Danny?
Hi, I'm Danny Brewster. I'm a Bitcoiner. How's that?
That's very good.
Or do I need to shill the company? And
let's do a bit of shilling as well. So fastbitcoins.com.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about what you're doing at the moment and what's it all about.
Okay, we're just trying to provide a simple way for people to access Bitcoin, and that is Bitcoin only. So please don't ever ask us to add any shitcoins. I can swear on this podcast, right?
You can swear away, yes.
Cool. I've got a potty mouth.
Me too.
So we have just relaunched. Unfortunately, we have to adhere to all of the laws and this fifth money laundering directive and the FATF stuff. So customers have to register and verify these days. But what we're trying to do is make that process as smooth and as simple as possible, and then just basically enable users to be able to access our services online via bank transfer, or they can use our retail network. We've got our own independent network with our own hardware deployed in physical locations around the UK, in Canada, Estonia. We've got locations in Latvia. We've got a Bitcoin meetup place in Berlin as well now that's online. And we're just about to start rolling out across Australia as well. And we're just looking to expand that network to provide access points for users to be able to just buy Bitcoin. We've got dollar cost averaging now. We've also just introduced another type of order, which basically takes, say, a £100 order, splits it up over a 24-hour period, and every 10 minutes just stacks sats every 10 minutes. So it just literally, It's like dollar cost averaging on steroids, basically, or on speed over a 24-hour period. So you just average the price out. And for me,
I've never heard that done before. That's really interesting.
Yeah, we was also the first Lightning, cash-to-Lightning exchange in the world. So we do like to remain at the forefront. But as a company, and personally, I've been wheeled out on all of the podcasts this week following our relaunch, because we have a publicist and a marketing guy. So people will probably be bored of hearing my voice over the next few weeks as this lockdown comes to an end and the podcasts get listened to. So these features, we are just trying to get them out there, get people using them, hopefully set some standards and best practices for users. Like, we don't ever hold clients' Bitcoins or users' Bitcoins ever. We deliver them as soon as they've been bought. We can deliver them on the Lightning Network. We're adding Liquid. We deliver them on chain as well. So yeah, we're just pushing forward and trying to just do it. So we get shit done before we start talking about it.
That's cool. And so you were talking about having it in kiosks. That sounds pretty interesting to me. What does that look like? What's the experience for someone who's coming into one of these stores?
Literally, we have posters and stickers around these stores that basically makes it clear that it's one of our partner locations. You can see that on our map on the website, if you've got a location near you. We are growing. We want to get to a point where people can just assume there's a location near them. So basically what they do is just walk in and say, can I buy a £20 or £10, £50, £100 Fastbitcoins voucher, or to whatever amount they want, £35, $33 if they wish. The teller would enter that into their POS device that we've provided them with. It would generate the voucher.
That's point of sale, not proof of stake, I assume.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. yeah. Our POS actually works. And we can prove that it works. So point of sale device would print out the voucher. The exchange doesn't actually happen there in store. So the merchant doesn't have to know anything about Bitcoin. All they're doing is collecting their little bit of commission for the transaction that they facilitated. And we bill them for it and they pay us. The user doesn't have to worry about any of that. They then take the voucher. If they've got a wallet that we're already partnered with, they can scan the QR code and redeem it straight into their wallet, or they can just go to the fastbitcoins.com website and redeem that voucher and receive the Bitcoins on chain, on Lightning, or via Liquid once we've enabled Liquid deliveries.
And in terms of the payments, when people are buying these things, is there a cash is it available for cash, or does it have to be done with debit card or credit card? What's the score?
It's cash. The original idea was the Bitcoin ATM business model for me was extremely inefficient. You've got these huge machines that cost thousands of pounds. They are forever breaking down. They require cash servicing. And there's a reason why you pay sometimes upwards of 16 to 20% to use Bitcoin ATM.
Yeah, it's big.
And sure, some of them, or they previously would have enabled you to buy without completing KYC, which we also enabled at that point in time because it was legal for us to do so, up to certain thresholds. But now even Bitcoin ATM businesses are going to have to enforce KYC to be able to comply with the legislation and stuff. Otherwise, the owners and operators are just risking being locked up or penalised for that. If anybody wants to take that risk, that's on them. I personally can't. I've got a family, I've got children. Nobody's going to feed them if they lock me up for sticking to my guns about KYC and stuff. But what we do as a business is try and educate users and give users the ability to then go on and do coin joins after to achieve financial privacy before they deposit it to their hardware wallet and things like that. That's what we can facilitate, or what we not necessarily facilitate, but guide people towards just these best practices for Bitcoiners. And there's a couple of problems with like the whole KYC thing. There's one, people think I've bought Bitcoins from a KYC exchange where I've had to give up my details and information. That exchange will only hand those details over about you specifically if requested for them specifically about you. So, like to tax authorities and stuff, and there's plenty of precedent where wide-ranging requests for the details of every single user can be declined by
turned down.
And the other big problem is if these platforms get hacked and the data and like all of your passports and personal information gets leaked, which is down to the platform operators to ensure that they're storing any information in a secure manner, that any third parties that they're using have been audited to ensure that they are storing that data in a manner that even if it does get leaked, it's encrypted, so the keys to it aren't available, so the information is just randomized strings, essentially. And then people, I think, mistakenly sometimes promote the idea of like these decentralized exchanges and things. But what you're going to find is if you're using like a bank transfer on like the BISC network or even on local Bitcoins, the person that you're doing the trade with is going to want a copy of some KYC documentation to prove that you've got the right to be sending them money from that bank account. Because the ones that don't burn through their bank accounts because of fraud extremely quickly. So you either send it to a business that's going to look after your data, or you send it to some random stranger that's on a peer-to-peer platform or on a middleman website like Local Bitcoins that makes the introduction between individuals. So yeah, it's all trade-offs, I guess, at the end of the day when it comes to KYC.
That's the sort of thing with everything within this industry. Everything's a trade-off, and I mean, from my position, I don't run an exchange or have to comply with any rules, so I can say I think KYC is absolutely fucking stupid. I think that the idea of it is disgusting, and it does much more harm than good. And I wish there was none of it. But I understand that if you're running a business, you have to comply with these rules or you risk serious problems. So it's a case of, I like that you said after the fact, you can try and explain to people the best practice of how to keep some level of privacy. And it looks like maybe that's going to be the way that people are going to have to do things unless they are doing cash transactions or they are mining. And other than that, we kind of have to accept that someone's going to have your details. But I don't like it. I don't like the idea of it. And I think that, especially if someone's buying a large amount and their details are held with an exchange, and we've just seen like Ledger had a leak recently, these sort of things happen, and then it gets sold on the darknet. And what if someone comes and knocks on your door and you've got a family?
Yeah, absolutely. The thing for me is I struggle to see like the person, like the guy or the woman that's buying £100 worth of Bitcoin a month, what crime exactly is being stopped by the KYC and everything other than some Orwellian level data collection? Fully on board with that idea. Now, the person moving 10, 15, 20 million, yeah, it's different kettle of fish. It's absolutely chalk and cheese.
Yeah.
So I'm absolutely with you on that. But like I say, as a business owner and operator, for me, if Bitcoin is going to fulfill anywhere near its potential, not everybody is the same. Or do you know what? What I've noticed, the vast majority of our users couldn't care less about having to complete KYC and the implications of that. And like the amount of people, it's like you say to them, I can remember when the Experian leak happened and everything. And the vast majority of people, oh well, it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, they're on Facebook. They're on Facebook sharing what they had for lunch. So the idea of privacy is,
and a lot of the people on Twitter and stuff like that exist in like this confirmation bias sphere of an echo chamber. It's ultimately, like I say, I'd rather push for best practices. And if, for me, the only way we're really going to exact any real changes when it comes to like legislation and stuff like that is by making or getting to a point where the lawmakers are Bitcoiners. He with all the gold makes the rules.
Yeah.
There's a reason how why Donald Trump could become the president of the United States, and that's because he had the capital and the means to do it. And whether you like him or hate him, the smarts to be able to win that race to become president. So fair play to him. And for me, literally, I was on a recording with Daniel Prince, and one of his questions was, who would you... His last question on all of them is like, if you could impart the message to be able to spread it to anybody. For me, it's just like a world leader. Somebody that's in that position to have that kind of top-down influence to basically turn a government or a leadership structure to basically turn around to be able to say to the central bank and say, right, we're now stacking sats as a national investment whilst we can. And one day we'll get there. Like there's a generation now coming up that have never existed in a world without Bitcoin. But it's going to take decades.
Yeah.
And people need to realize that. So.
Yeah, I think so. And like you said about the echo chamber, it's very easy to, I spend a lot of my time on Twitter and I agree with everything that is said, or most things that are said. And, we have a similar idea around things, but there's an ideal and then there's the reality of the world. And we are in that kind of pretty much Orwellian 1984 sort of world at the moment. And it doesn't just happen like that you change things. These things do take time. What I'm sort of hoping for personally is that we have some ability to do things after the fact, that we get good enough that it's so hard to track that they just give up.
Yeah.
Do you think that's possible?
Privacy on the base chain is probably going to be the next scaling debate. You're going to have the people that are close to the regulators, the suits that want to push more regulation to basically create their moat around their businesses and stuff. Sorry, my missus just texted me. I just sent her a message saying, get the dog in because it's barking. Next door seems to be having some kind of like party. And she's like, no, I'm at Asda.
It's all right. Mine will probably start soon.
Yeah, hopefully she'll calm down. But next door's having a party. She's extremely guarding, and she's quite old.
What dog you got?
I've got two. I've got an older dog, which is a Bull Mastiff cross Presa Canario.
What's a Presa Canario?
Think Staffordshire Bull Terrier on stilts and steroids. Okay. They're an Italian.
Oh, like an Italian Mastiff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I've got Cane Corso cross Presa Canario, and the Cane Corso is an Italian War Dog. They are massive. She's only 1 year old, but she's like 55 kilo. She's quite a unit, and she doesn't realise her size. And she chases around little Jack Russells and stuff around the park. She's just such a big, playful dog. She bounces across the park. Everybody locally knows her when she's out on the field. She walks brilliantly off a lead and stuff. So
it's normally the big dogs. Normally the big dogs are the friendliest. We've got a couple of Ridgebacks, and they're so friendly. But people are scared of them because they're just the sheer size of them. But they are lovely.
My daughter's grandmother had a Ridgeback when my daughter was born, and she used to lay at the bottom of the Moses basket. Nobody other than me and my missus and her grandmother could get anywhere near her when she was in that basket. But have you ever seen, completely off topic now, onto dogs? I love my dogs.
Yeah, me too.
The Ricky Gervais bit on Rhodesian Ridgebacks.
Yeah, that's class.
That's class. Who got to tell the Rhodesian Ridgeback that they've got to fight lions? Absolutely beautiful, beautiful dogs.
You were talking about the Once Bitten podcast that you went on, and that last question of who would you speak to? Weirdly, Ricky Gervais was mine when I spoke to him.
Really? I've not actually listened to those. I listen to a few. I have so many podcasts. We're about to embark on a raise, so I'm trying to cram as much information about that whole environment and VCs and all of that into my brain. So I like listening to podcasts and stuff like that, reading and everything. But I've obviously I'm friends with Peter, like McCormack. And all of the Stefan Levera and people like that, they're all friends, or I consider them friends or associates and stuff. So I literally have podcasts on all of the time. I've subscribed to yours as well.
Excellent.
Actually, I don't think I could find you on Spotify.
Oh, really? Should be on there.
I'll have to look harder, but I found it through your website. As soon as I got told this has been booked, I straight looked it up. Listened to a few of those, so enjoyed it. And but if I can find it on Spotify, I'll soon subscribe. So it'll just become part of.
I'll send you a link so you can be my second listener.
Oh, really?
No, I'm joking.
Everybody got to start somewhere. I remember when Peter McCormack literally started, and he had I discovered it, and he had. The Roger interview, he interviewed Craig Wright, where he'd gone over in person. So, and this was around all the the scaling debate and stuff. And then he saw sense and became Bitcoin only, and just watching his progression. I know he rubs people up the wrong way and stuff on Twitter, but I love to see it.
It's his way.
You can literally, he's a genius. Everything's planned and what have you. He's a genius in his own right. I had the fortune of being able to go to the football with him. I should say unfortunate, because it was Liverpool Man City away that we got tickets for, and we lost that game. It was last season when we missed out on the league title by the 11 millimeters. The ball didn't cross the line, and that was literally under our noses when that didn't cross the line. But just watching that progression and how he succeeded with his podcast and everything, and I do feel that the media and the podcast space now is, nobody can deny it, especially when you see what's happened with Joe Rogan and stuff, is now a critical part of the media, because it's how people are beginning to get informed and stuff.
Well, it's the way I look at it is in the same way Bitcoin is decentralized banking, it's kind of the same with information. And if you just have one news source and they're told what to say, you got the BBC, they're told what to say, and they're influenced by people with money. And, I know they're not supposed to be, but when you have enough people all doing their own podcasts, all having their different ideas, you sort of naturally end up finding where the good information is. And it took me a couple of years to find some good podcasts and find some good writing and find some good people to follow on Twitter, where you finally get the good information. It takes time.
But you've also got to be extremely aware of seeking out your own confirmation bias.
Yes.
I've probably fallen into that trap before. And this is why I used to love Bitcoin Uncensored so much when it was Krista Rose and Joseph together. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
It was before my time, but I know of them. Yeah.
When they did their show together, they they was like the original Bitcoin maximalists
Yeah.
in a time when it was like blockchain the world, and they was the ones pushing back against that narrative and playing the contrarian and stuff. And it was such and even now, like Junseth, for me, if people don't follow Junseth or listen to his podcast, the Junseth World Show, me and him did like a 10-hour marathon recording in a hotel room in London one time, just randomly. I got a message from him saying I'm in London. So I literally travelled down to London on the train, and we had a laugh and recorded for like 10 hours just in his hotel room. He was here for his normal job, and it was just insane. It was so funny. But he's a contrarian thinker, and like the FT, like the Financial Times, Alphaville brought him over to speak at one of their events. And he was on stage with that Francis Coppola, who I cannot stand. And all of these like naysayers against Bitcoin, like Noriel was there.
Oh, yeah.
People like that. And he went and got on that stage. And do you know what? He speaks so much truth, but people don't like uncomfortable truth, especially if it goes against their confirmation bias. And for me, there's so many hype men in Bitcoin. It's like, come on, let's actually have a level-headed discussion. And if you actually speak to like a lot of the core developers or anybody developing anything around Bitcoin or Lightning, they're the most level-headed people in the space. And then you've got like personalities that are just like pump, 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 pump.
Well, it gets follows, it gets engagement.
Exactly.
It's a tactic you can take.
Yeah.
But I think... And I think that's probably why a lot of people do have a problem with Peter McCormack and that, the way that he goes about things, because he likes to get a conversation going around ideas that people don't really want to necessarily tackle head on. And he does it in a way that's going to antagonize a few people because it gets the conversation going. And it does need all to be hashed out. It's all well and good saying moon, 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 moon. But at the end of the day, you have to continue to push this thing forward. And, like we're saying with KYC being something that gets in the way of having true peer-to-peer digital cash and everything being traceable, well, it's got to be worked on. You can't just say, oh, well, it'll be sorted later. And I think, like you say, that's why these developers are more level-headed and they're more bearish on everything because they're actually the ones building it.
Yeah.
Which I think is good. I'm very excited about what's possible, but I do also see that we are up against some very powerful people with a lot of money and a lot of sway who are going to do everything they can to stop this. And I think it's just, maybe it hasn't really caught their attention fully yet, or they underestimate it, but they will come. They will come at us.
These people with all of this capital, they're not dumb people. But ultimately, Bitcoin's what's the market cap of? If it's a bad, it's a bad.
150
there's probably
billion.
been. I probably couldn't count the amount of deals that have been done or transactions that have been done today alone that are worth more than the entire market cap of Bitcoin between businesses or funds and stuff. 160 billion. It's a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, but on the grand global economic scale, it's still a drop in the ocean.
That's nothing.
And so we're still a way off. And these people know that they won't be able to essentially stop Bitcoin because for me, as long as another block is created, Bitcoin is still alive, regardless of the price and the difficulty or anything. As long as that block keeps being churned out or the new blocks keep being churned out, Bitcoin is alive and kicking and well. And they know they can't ban it. These people have seen like the advent of file sharing and how it went from being like centralized websites to Napster all the way through to BitTorrent. And then the evolution of the market with iTunes and now or other streaming services and stuff. So these people aren't dumb. They've put themselves, the vast majority of them have put themselves into this position. And if they've not squandered that wealth because they inherited it, they're not dumb people. So they'll be well aware of everything. And like that with Goldman Sachs, we don't need these people to give Bitcoin the green light and approval because Bitcoin doesn't give a fuck. at all what anybody thinks, and it's not for me as a person or anybody else to say what Bitcoin is, how it can be used, or how it should be used, and who it should be used by. As soon as anybody feels or thinks that they've got that authority, if somebody wants to buy coffee with Bitcoin and pay however many sats for the transaction fee is required to buy that coffee, it may be extremely inefficient, but that is their choice. It's not for me to say that, no, they shouldn't do that, or yes, you should do that. I can say it doesn't make a lot of sense, just like I would say it doesn't make a lot of sense to commit crimes and perform transactions using Bitcoin with the proceeds of those crimes. You've got a permanent record of that transaction.
Yeah. Cash is very good for that.
Yeah, exactly. But not if you ask that munching guy. Apparently, the US dollar has never been used for for crime.
Of course not. Of course not.
So, yeah, that what I said about intelligent people is probably wrong.
Some.
Yeah, that or just completely disingenuous.
Yeah, that's probably more likely.
Yeah. So, yeah, if Bitcoin should run towards its problems and vulnerabilities and stuff like that, because the only way that we come through the other side is by attacking them and running at them and everything. So,
yeah, and so you were saying, there's no way of pinning down Bitcoin or saying what you think it is or what it's going to be, because it's something different to everyone and we all have a different view. What is it to you? Obviously, this isn't the easiest industry. I listened to your episode with Charlie Shrim, and it sounds like you've had a hard run of it first time round. We'll maybe get a little bit more into that later, but clearly you've gone through a lot of shit. It's not the easiest industry. You're starting another project. What is it that it means to you? Why are you doing it? Why is it you care about Bitcoin?
Bitcoin is our only chance of pushing back against constant creep of the powers that be in control. It, for me, is our greatest opportunity of pushing back against that, for better or for worse. I haven't had an easy run of it, but 100% down to the decisions that I've taken in the past and the choices that I've made. Sure, I've dealt with some absolute knobheads, but it was me that chose to do business with them and stuff like that. So I've been told to try and stay away from this story now. It's been talked about so much and whatever, but I always feel that there's so many lessons that can be learned from it and stuff. And I wish people would look at it and learn from the mistakes that I made and stuff like that. Even if they take one thing from it and it helps them overcome something or what, or basically not make the same mistake or think that they know it all, because for me, Bitcoin is so humbling. Out of absolutely anything, Bitcoin will humble you. I 100% probably thought I knew everything when I was younger. I know full well at 15 years old, I thought I knew everything. And at 25, I thought, yeah, I've probably grasped it now. And then at 30, I realized at 25, I didn't have a fucking clue. Yeah. And now at 34, I'm just so cautious about what I do and just acknowledging that I don't know everything and have all of the answers. And I could very easily make mistakes, but I also know that if I make a mistake, I can learn from it. And as long as it's not catastrophic in how we respond to those lessons and things like that, it's not like I'm just embarking on something new. I literally built Fastbitcoins whilst on electronic tag, on bail, fighting extradition, whilst I had 34 years in prison hanging over me in accusations, knowing 100% that those accusations were false as well, but also having this understanding that the system that you're fighting against is partially corrupted. It was an uphill battle, but like I say, it's how you react to those situations that you find yourself in. And I've said it many times, I could have let that destroy me, or I use that time to reteach myself how to write code, to iterate through and tinker and play, and then finally get to a position where I could execute and build Fastbitcoins. What people probably don't understand is all of the mechanics that go in behind running the business and stuff like that. It's not just a simple WordPress website that operates a like essentially an OTC desk for people to be able to buy Bitcoin from several different countries around the world. There's a lot more to it than that, but if I can build that, anybody can. So even if that's just a lesson, if this dummy that made all of these mistakes in 2012, 2013, 2014, even maybe 2015, when I was having to deal with it all, I made mistakes then too. If this idiot can build something that goes on to be a success, and we are seeing a success with Fastbitcoins over the last year and a half since we've launched, then absolutely anybody can go and do that.
Well, like you said, first of all, if you never make any mistakes, you're not working hard enough, and you're not pushing boundaries.
Yeah.
And if you can't accept that you've made mistakes, you're never going to move forward. So it's one of those things that, like you said, you can either destroy you or it can make you a stronger person.
Yeah.
Most people that I've met who are in Bitcoin, well, certainly me, I've made so many fucking stupid mistakes in my life. I've done so many dumb things, and I still do dumb things. It's probably dumb me talking about some of the stuff that I do on this podcast because it's not necessarily politically correct or accepted by most people, but you have to do what you feel is right in life. Otherwise, you can't be happy. And I think what I was really trying to get at is the fact that you are moving forward with this new business and you are still within Bitcoin, even though you've had a hard time of it, means that this is something very special to you. And that's what's so nice having these interviews and speaking to people, because it's special to me too. And I think you're right. It is our last chance. It's not a chance. I think it's our last chance. And we have to fight for that.
Yeah, without getting too echoey and mirroring it back to you again, but yeah, it's the chance to push back. And I don't know if you ever watched the Four Horsemen documentary.
I didn't actually.
It basically goes through, and a lot of it makes sense, like towards the end of empires and stuff, and like how there's a disparity between the rich and the poor, and how that grows, and how like towards the end of the Roman Empire and most empires, like who they made celebrities out of, like the chefs and stuff like that. It mirrors like what's happening in the world today so much, and it's if we can come through the end of the current like modern monetary theory influenced, Keynesian influenced type of environment, like this rampant consumerism, without sounding too much like a tree hugger and stuff. But for me, I'd like to live on this planet with the lightest footprint as possible. Try not to live like a disposable life, and appreciate craftsmen who can truly make something that's built to last. So you don't need to literally demolish a forest every 6 months to replace people's shitty furniture and stuff like that. If Bitcoin and a sound monetary standard, whether we ever get to a Bitcoin standard, or even if we just have enough people that are in tune with storing value, because savers are punished these days, and if we continue the path that we're going with negative interest rates and stuff, it's not going to. I don't think retail borrowers will ever benefit from negative interest rates. They'll always pay interest for borrowing those funds, but I'm pretty sure savers will be on the tail end of those negative interest rates when the central banks are charging like they are in Europe, and we're seeing the European banks buy up buildings with large vaults to store physical cash because they don't want to store it with the central bank these days, or the ECB, because of the negative interest rates and stuff. So I think if we get through all of that, I wouldn't want to see like a total collapse overnight and then Bitcoin to rise up in an instant. I would hate to be one of the few haves in a world of have-nots. You'd quickly become the target of the desperate.
For sure.
And I know full well the lengths that I would go to protect and feed my family. Whether that makes me a good person or a bad person, I don't really care. It's my family.
It makes you a person.
Yeah,
it makes
exactly.
We're all the same. We'd all do it.
So I'd like to see an orderly demise of this system that we're in now, and an orderly path into the promised land towards more better model of incentives for people's behaviours and actions. Maybe we could stop dropping bombs and fighting over arbitrary lines drawn on a map.
Yeah.
But then, even if you look beyond that, tribes always fight. So
Yeah, it's interesting. I've found, and I imagine it's fairly similar where you are as well. We're both British, and I think there's a certain British way which is maybe different to other countries. But what I've found is that if I say to someone, or if I start lecturing them on Bitcoin and how central banking is bad and how there's a corruption in the system and all this sort of stuff, they instantly shut off. They don't want to hear it. However, the average person, if you really say to them, do you truly trust? Do you trust the politicians? They'll be like, no. Do you feel like you're working harder now than you ever have? Life's harder. Yeah. Do you think it's wrong to be dropping bombs on other countries and then you find out that actually there's no real reason for it other than oil or money? Yeah. So we all feel the same. They just maybe haven't linked that a lot of the root cause of this is unsound money. So what I thought was really interesting about what your business is doing and having these kiosks is I can imagine a world where people are going in and they're speaking to the people who are running these shops and they build a personal relationship with them, and where it's a slow burner, that the people who are selling the tickets or who have these kiosks, maybe over the course of a couple of months or 6 months or a year are speaking to their customers, and it just piques that interest so that people dig a little bit deeper. Is that something that went through your mind when you came up with the idea of having these kiosks?
No, because I lost all faith in human beings a long time ago. In Cyprus, like for instance, that is the ideal situation. But the vast majority of our merchants don't really care about Bitcoin. Straight up, we have got some that are Bitcoiners. We offer the ability for merchants to be able to receive their commissions, and we have a stacking sats mode for merchants. So all of their commissions are paid in Bitcoin. Some of them take advantage of that, and they have gone from zero to acquiring Bitcoins in that way, earning Bitcoin. But the vast majority of them don't really care. It's not actually the merchants themselves that benefit from it. They've got employees that are the ones interfacing with their customers and things like that. So and we built the systems so the merchants don't have to have any knowledge or understanding of Bitcoin to be able to offer our services. But with that all said, just having all of the posters and the stickers and the signage and stuff like that basically makes it, people are going to walk past that every day and they're going to see that. And that's how things creep into people's consciousness when they start seeing it every day. So the next time they see the word Bitcoin mentioned or in a discussion beyond some fucking idiot on Facebook posting about some magic investment scheme detailing Bitcoin, that for me sets Bitcoin back so much in amongst the general population, because everything they see sounds scammy and stuff like that. Whereas if they start to see the place where they can buy their groceries from and stuff like that, it gives it a little bit more credence. And going back to the comment about losing faith in the general population of countries, in Cyprus, I lived through, I was there for the bailing event where they literally they shut the banks whilst they negotiated with the IMF, like the recapitalization of the banks. The original idea was to haircut 8% of everything over €1,000 from people's bank accounts. Everybody turned around and said, no, that's not happening. So what they did was go for 50% of everything over 100K in people's accounts to recapitalize the banks. But in the meantime, you had capital controls, and so all you could do was withdraw, I think it was initially like €60 a day out of the ATM per account. All of the Bitcoin media hype was talking about, Bitcoin ATMs, Bitcoin is going to thrive in Cyprus because of all this. It's just, it's not actually what's really happening on the ground here. People are
trying to feed their family, probably.
Yeah, exactly. What you find is a lot of these hype men are so disconnected from actual reality. And you only have to look at Venezuela and stuff and fully understand that, some people may be using Bitcoin to move value across borders and to protect the wealth from hyperinflation and stuff. But the vast majority of people just want food.
Yeah.
And they want survival. They're not like wealthy, sitting on stacks of gold. Reality, but there's some people that are like, oh, Bitcoin's going to save Venezuela, this, that, and the other, and it's just leaves me banging my head against a brick wall. But yeah, with these capital controls, people was taking like 60 euros a day out of the bank and like essentially a bank run as best they could. But at the time, the church in Cyprus is the biggest business on the island. They own like the breweries, property, land, you name it. They own everything. Commercial properties, they owned Hellenic Bank as well. And it needed to be recapitalised. So there's literally bankrupting the bank. So they put the bank up for auction. And the church needed cash to be able to bid in this auction to buy the bank back.
Mm.
So they issued a bond in the name of one of the saints. And I drove past one of the churches in Nicosia, and the queues of people that was wanting to put the money into the church to buy this bond was just absolutely insane. Like hundreds of people queued up. And I thought, and I was there building this Bitcoin business in the idea of giving these people something different, like a plan B.
Yeah.
And I just shook my head and thought, are these people insane? They are literally queuing up to give the church,
which is so wealthy.
Yeah, give them their cash to enable them to rebuy the bank. And I just thought, yeah, that's when I lost a lot of faith in the general population of countries. Be religious, be whatever you want to be, but to blindly give your money to the church because it's the church that's asking for it, when you know exactly what they're using it for, is nuts.
Yeah, I've been there. Not Cyprus. I've been there in terms of I've been at a stage where I've lost all faith in humanity completely. I really have, and it was quite a dark place for me. However, I've now got to a stage where I think most people want the same thing. Like we're saying, they want to feed their families. They want their families to be safe. They want a roof over their head. They generally want an easy life. But I think it's just that they follow the patterns of what everyone else is doing and they don't think. I think if they could be bothered, if you could somehow download the information that's in your head about Bitcoin and about the way that banking works and actually what that church owns and really how fucking stupid what they're doing is, and they had that information easily, then they'd go, oh, yeah, I'll go and buy Bitcoin. But it's that leap, is that it's such a big leap that I don't know how you get that across.
Are you familiar with like the Myers-Briggs test? There's like the 16 personalities.
Yes.
It's like the N and the S type personalities, and like the S types, rightfully or wrongfully, I consider them the sheep type personalities, and the N type is obviously more inquisitive, wants to know how things work and why things work and what have you. And I do feel that I 100% know that I'm an N type personality. If you can classify humans into these little boxes, but it ultimately does describe how I work. And I only have to literally reactivate a Facebook account to go and look on Facebook to realize that just the vast majority of people are, in fact, the complete polar opposite. And they'll share stories and they'll share absolute nonsense and they'll believe whatever's told to them and they'll just parrot it and they won't bother checking anything for facts if it fits with them. And we see these people in Bitcoin as well because they're the ones that follow the hype men, if you will, and think that they're the next level genius because they've discovered Bitcoin and it's gone up from 3,000 to 9,000 over the space of a year. And then suddenly they think that they've got, like, they know it all and they've got this air of superiority and amongst their social circles, and they listen to the tidbits of information and the quips and the returns to criticisms of like Bitcoin. Is Bitcoin a Ponzi? It's like and stuff like that. And we've built up. So I've been guilty of it myself as well. Essentially taking arguments for Bitcoin and even other associated like political like ideologies and stuff like that, and just basically imparting that on other people, maybe in the wrong way, and expecting them to absolutely agree with me and see see it the way that I see it, and things like that.
And no one does, and no one cares.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The football's back. Oh, I can't really say football because football, my dogs, and my family, and Bitcoin. Pretty much that's my life. But you know what I mean? Like, oh, what accumulator have you put on this weekend is more interesting than what are the Kardashians doing this week?
Yeah.
More interesting than, oh, the central bank's just printed $6 trillion. The Fed's just created or promised to buy $6 trillion worth of assets, and
no one
out
cares.
of nowhere. Yeah. But the only time they'll care is in 18 months' time. They may not even see it when their shopping bill starts becoming 10-20% more expensive as the inflation starts to kick in. So we'll see. But it's the frog that's boiled slowly, doesn't jump out.
Absolutely. And there's I've found there's no point in trying to push these ideas on people. It's part of the reason, again, why I started the show, because I was so frustrated because I couldn't speak to, if I spoke my mind about most things, I would just end up in arguments every 2 seconds. Someone would say something, I'd go, don't be so fucking stupid because of this, this and this. And because it's a contrarian view and they're acting like sheep, you just end up arguing with everyone. You fall out with everyone. So I just separated it, just live my normal life, let them do what they want, let them buy this stock market dip, that their financial advisors told them is definitely going to recover and be brilliant, and there's no problems, and it's all because of COVID, and there's no underlying issues. Just let them do it, and say, if you want to listen to the show, listen, and if they're interested, they will, because otherwise you just, like I say, you end up falling out with people.
I do that with my missus. Like, I'll go and throw like a contrarian view at her when we're discussing something that's happening or going on, and I'll put that view out there, and she'll push back. And this is one of the reasons why I love her so much. And it's because she'll take that and she'll think about it.
Yeah.
And then she'll see it, and then she'll discuss it. And then the next time she'll be on the phone, and she thinks I've turned her into like somebody that's really harsh. And it's like, I've turned you into somebody that acknowledges like self-responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be like listening, and she'll be on the phone to her sister or whatever, and her sister will say something, and then she'll just put my view at, or what was originally the way that I saw something, and she'll argue with it, and then she'll start falling out with them about it, or debating it with them, or explaining it to them. And it's like that's how it permeates. And I'm pretty sure our family over the last 3, 4, maybe even 5 years, since me and her's been together, like with the kids and stuff, that mindset has spread through all of them.
Yeah, it does slowly, doesn't it? It slowly, the logic slowly finds its way, and people go, oh, yeah, there's finally a point where they just can't argue it anymore, and they just go, yeah, you're right. But then normally it's their idea. That's what's happened with most of my friends, is that once it clicks, then they go, yeah, well, I've always said that. And you're like, no, you have not.
You just let them have it.
Yeah, you have to.
Because you know, it's like the last general election, my stepdaughter came to me and she was like, Danny, I think Labour's going to win. Like, Corbyn's going to win. How bad is it? Is things going to be if Corbyn wins? It's like, is he really going to like make it like proper socialist? I was like, all the politicians are dumb. Like, not dumb, but
disingenuous fucking weasels.
I said, basically, to want to go for that job, you need to have something wrong wired up inside of you, because it's an impossible job. Yeah, you've either got to be a psycho or genius, because you're getting paid an awful lot of money for doing an impossible job that you can never, ever get right. So why would you even try? Because you're never going to be able to appease like 66 million people in the UK.
No.
Or I struggle to appease one missus and 5 kids. So only God would know, if he's even real, how on earth you would do that job.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I was like, no, don't worry about it. You're in a little echo chamber with all of your young friends that are listening to Stormzy telling everybody to vote Labour and stuff. I said, it's going to be an absolute whitewash for the Conservatives. And I said, I voted for the Conservatives because I'd rather live in a world with those idiots running it than the other lot trying to tax us even more to hand out to the people that don't want to do the work or take the risks and stuff. So I just said, just all you can do is concentrate on you, and because she's like 16 at the time.
That's a cool thing with Bitcoin as well, is it's that looking after yourself, responsible for yourself, only you care for yourself. And, you know, if you fuck up, it's your fault. So for me, I used to actually really care about politics. I used to get really angry and obsess about, we've got to make changes, because I felt something was wrong. And I was disgusted with what I was seeing, but I hadn't quite twigged that it was all down to the money. And this last time was the first time that I just went, I'm not even fucking voting anymore. I'm so past it that I'm not even going to take the time to go and do it, because all I care about is trying to propel this thing forward, look after my own family, sort out the place that I live, and that's it. And once I've stopped caring, now when people come to me with, this has happened in politics, or this bloke drove somewhere he wasn't meant to, or blah, blah, whatever bullshit, I literally just I don't care. I've got more important things to worry about. And it's nice.
Yeah, my question always is if that's what they're talking about, what don't they want you talking about?
Yeah. Look over here.
Yeah, and being in and around companies that have that deal, we've got PR guy. Our PR guy set this interview up and stuff, but I had it in Cyprus where the PR machine, it works in your favor. My marketing director in Cyprus, she was brilliant, arguably probably the best person he employed. She received a phone call from the owner of one of the newspapers basically saying, I feel you should take out another advert on the front page of this newspaper, otherwise we're going to write a negative article about Bitcoin, like in the week of us launching and stuff. It's just absolutely insane. And literally the people that control the world isn't the media, it's the people that control the purse strings of the media. So the PR agencies, the publicists, they're the ones that place the advertising money into these media platforms and stuff. And people say, social media is impacting the media and stuff. But most of the stories are still released that go viral on social media are generally driven by the mainstream media accounts on Twitter and stuff like that. If there's like a big press topic, people still turn to those accounts. It does happen where you see like a video of something happen, like that Karen in the park on the phone to the
I love
calling
that
the
Karen
police
thing.
See,
it's so good.
My mum's name was Karen, spelt slightly differently, and I was like, thank God she's no longer around to have to listen to all of this. And it's kind of tickles me, but yeah, you do get some like videos that go viral on their own merit. Sometimes rightfully so. Sometimes it's just a short clip of a much larger context, but it's the short clip that's gone viral, and you don't get the full context of the situation and stuff, and it can be framed and what have you. But the thing for me is it's the advertising money rules the world. So if you want to have some real influence, spend a whole bunch on advertising, because people write whatever they want you to write if you're spending money on adverts and stuff.
Yeah, money talks, exactly. This is a lofty question for you. If we do get to a world where we have, let's just say for argument's sake, we do get a Bitcoin standard or something close to it, one of the things that I struggle with is if we get there, and even if it is a slow transition, which is obviously anyone who's half reasonable or sensible would want that, because otherwise it's carnage, it's Mad Max. If we do get that, do you see this kind of idea of citadels or smaller areas being the answer, or like what do you see happening? Because we can't just go government full totalitarian to zero government, zero rules. Like there has to be a
for me, the reasonable side of me would, let's take the UK for example, devolve as much power as you possibly can down to local council level. So instead of having one central government and lots of little local like county councils, so basically make the counties compete with one another to create the best environments for the citizens, and allow the people to move freely amongst those, and create different business environments and different zones and taxation. It's probably a lot more like of a bureaucratic way, because people will inject themselves and the local governments will become bloated and stuff. But if what we all like to believe is true as Bitcoiners, then the governments that don't do that will become the place to go to and the place to do business and what have you. Because the
We're going over. The helicopter.
The RAF are coming for me now. Yeah, it was a helicopter. Probably a Chinook. Oh no, that didn't sound like a Chinook actually. Yeah, where was I?
Jurisdictional arbitrage,
the local,
basically.
Yeah, that's the only way. And local and people, being one of 66 million is difficult to impart change on the government that would essentially tax me or what have you. My influence is extremely diluted, and that's one of probably my largest gripe with the European Union. Bigger isn't better for most things. And if we lived in a Bitcoin standard world, the Department of Defense would probably need to be a lot smaller. I think it's disingenuous to call it the Department of Defense, where it used to be called the Department of War, when we used to go invading places, because it still is the Department of War and not really defense. I know they kind of spruce it up and polish the turd and say it's we are performing the act of defense in somebody else's land to stop them coming here. When we all know that's bullshit. But as a whole, I feel it would be better to do it that way. But then again, it's all trade-offs as well, because there's some things that would suffer in an environment like that. It wouldn't be perfect. And if it was absolutely zero state, it would be absolutely carnage as well. And all of these, what you also find is all these people that are like, oh, I'll have my guns and I'll protect myself. And it's
good luck.
It's like most of these people, you can take your gun down a shooting range and you'll be absolutely fine. Somebody comes and holds a gun to your head before you've had a chance to draw your gun or get it out or what have you, your arsehole is going to be twitching. And because you're a nerd that, like me, sits in writing code, those nerdy sorts of things like interest you. And when shit really gets real, there's very few people that can say like 100%, this is how I would react in that situation, and then actually do that.
Well, especially when it's not just you. You know, it's different if you're a single bloke, and then you can say, well, I don't fucking care, pull the trigger. But in reality, if you've got a family, it's a totally different story.
Yeah. And this is the thing, like for me, I'd say we're going to have some form of government, period. Humans fall into leadership structures and roles, even left to their own devices. We're animals, basically. We're pack animals. So if I had to have a choice, I'd be really conservative on a national government, still conservative on like a local government, but I'm generally socialist with those that are close to me, like my immediate family and stuff. I wouldn't ever try and just put myself in a box of a political ideology. And
you don't you don't shit on your own doorstep. Is that like if you're living, say, in a village, if you're an arsehole, people are all going to hate you. You're not going to want to live there anymore. And it's the same thing that if the decisions are made on a local level, the people making that decision to close a local school so they can have a backhander and do some blow and hookers on the weekend, that person eventually
will be found out.
The pitchforks are going to come out. Yeah, exactly. But at the moment, it's too big. It's like, oh, well, we know that that's what happens, but they have security guards and they're in London and there are the untouchables. And, we all know that it happens, but they're not and they don't have to look us in the face. They don't have to see us and have a conversation down the pub. It's different.
Yeah. And like I said, for me, Bitcoin is the only way to protest that. To really, truly protest that, because money is where the control's at. Like, ideologically, that's where I align to with Bitcoin. And as long as we keep churning out blocks, we've got a chance of giving Bitcoin or having Bitcoin in enough people's wallets worldwide for that to have any real level of impact.
Yeah, for sure. It is a protest. It's the biggest protest that anyone. It's the biggest statement anyone can make is just remove themselves from the current system and just say, I'm not playing your game anymore. And it's very powerful. And that's one of the reasons, when we were saying at the beginning, I like the model that you have in terms of getting it into local shops, getting it more accessible, because not everyone wants to go online and put all their details in and all that sort of stuff. It's about finding these ways to get it into normal people's hands. And like you said earlier, Goldman Sachs slating Bitcoin and the usual, you have to expect that that's what they're going to do. But fuck Goldman Sachs, because we want it to be in the hands of normal people. We don't want these fuckers who have been stealing from everyone forever to be in control, or not in control, but have a large stake in this system. We don't want it.
The thing is, it doesn't take a genius to work out that people with a lot of wealth right now are probably going to be in a position to buy more Bitcoin than anybody else. So there is still going to be some level of disparity of wealth regardless, but that's because of the situation that we're in anyway. But all you can hope for is the people that truly benefit from that disparity in wealth are the last ones in.
Yeah.
I doubt they will be, but they won't be the first because they'll be too busy protecting their existing stack of fiat. And or I wouldn't even say their existing stack of fiat. I would say their proximity to the printing press is what they would be protecting. Because whilst they're there and the Cantillon effect and everything, they're going to push back.
Good.
Yeah. And try and ignore it and stuff, which gives us an opportunity and a window to create the platforms and the software and the solutions. And you know what? Not everybody's going to want to hold and custody their own Bitcoin, but that's why, as companies, we need to build the solutions that can enable these users. I was doing this in 2013, 2014 with Neo in Cyprus that utilize like multi-sig to try and basically give them that solution, like the best practice, without them having to fully understand that. Because people say now, people are going to use centralized services. Yes, they are. Unfortunately, they are, because not everybody is going to get it, or not everybody's going to want that level of responsibility and stuff. But if we have the technology and the services and the platforms that basically force the best practices without it being full and frontal to the user, then even better.
You're talking about multi-sig there. It's something that I've not played around with yet. I'm not the most technical guy. By the sounds of it, you very much are.
Try not to be.
What's your thoughts on? I know there's things like Caravan and some of these open source projects that are like trying to make things easier, but you've obviously seen Bitcoin and the services around it develop for many years. If you were to guess, how long do you think it's going to be until setting up multi-sig by yourself is going to be secure and easy enough for the average, not an idiot, but someone who's not massively techie?
I wouldn't like to try and read the tea leaves when it comes to like the amount of time, but it needs to be at a point where the terminology and everything. We've just relaunched our interface and stuff, and I've just looked at it over the last couple of days and said, right, it's better, and we've got all of the functionality, but it's not good enough. We can do better. And I want to think of, because like setting up a Casa multi-sig wallet and stuff is it's quite simple now, but it's still like the terminology and stuff. For me, it needs to be as easy as going to Monzo to open up a bank account in an app. You don't even realize that you're setting up multi-sig and how that works and stuff for the real mass adoption, if you will. So I think we're still a way off that, but people, like I say, the most bearish people are the ones working on it. And they're the people that I like to listen to the most, because if you listen to them, there's like one thing. People think that Bitcoin is unbreakable, this, that, and the other, and it's scary that people still think this, like 11 years after it started. as if like we've never had any problems along those 11 years.
Yeah, there's been bugs and all sorts.
Yeah, there's a bug still in there that needs fixing before Bitcoin breaks.
Isn't that the one that's like 40 years away or something like that?
No. People that don't understand it think it's 40 years away. It's about 90 years away because it's an unsigned integer. So we've got like an extra bit.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's just a timestamp because Satoshi, for all of his brilliance, wasn't the best developer and basically used a 32-bit number instead of 64.
Oh, so it will run out of...
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to run out of space and it will tick over to 0, but the consensus rules require the next block to have a timestamp that is greater than the previous block. So that's going to go from, like, it'll run out, and then it'll, like, one block will be there, and the next block will require a timestamp that is larger than that one, but the timestamp will start counting from 0 again for the next block. So we won't be able to find a valid block. But that's got to be fixed in about 90 years, and people are fully aware of it, and there's smarter people than me working on the solution. But right now, as far as I'm aware, I'm probably wrong, the only way to solve that is with a hard fork at the moment, because it's a change to the consensus like mechanism. But I'm pretty sure like Luke Dash Jr. or someone will find out a way of soft forking or changing.
Yeah.
And there is discussions around it, but like I say, the smarter guys. But these are the people that I would go to for advice on where Bitcoin's going, because they understand this. Not the hype guy. We'll fix it. Like, okay, but the longer we go, the harder Bitcoin is to fork. So how are you going to fix it? Don't tell me we're just going to fix it. Let's be realistic. How are you going to fix it? Or what's on the table to fix it? And things like that. So.
Yeah. Like you say, as things go on, it is going to get harder to change it, and I feel like it already is. I think, there are certain things that are just I can't see ever changing.
Like what? What would you say is never going to change?
For me, the supply. If that ever changed, if someone introduced some form of inflation, I'm done.
You're done.
I'm done, and I feel that it's one of the things that, like, when you're explaining it, is like, right, hard cap supply. That's one of the things that people are like, yeah, that's good. I like that, because it's just simple. It's like, I want this share of the pie. So certainly for me, I'd be out. And I feel like most people who are involved, from what I've experienced, are done. So that, for me, that would be one.
Okay. So have you thought about this? That's us in today's, we appreciate the value of that hard supply. We truly appreciate that. We've gone through this. We can call it a hard time. Really, we've lived through abundance. We've never really had it fucking hard. We've never had like rationing or anything like that. But we as people and Bitcoiners today recognize that hard limit and the inflation issue as being absolutely critical. 200 years down the line, when you're 4, 5, 6 generations away from that understanding, how long until you get some sales guy that's really popular that starts talking about the idea? Are the people that are fundamentally around going to truly appreciate just what that hard limit means?
Hard to say.
Yeah, I'm just talking theoretically, but this is like probably my biggest fear for Bitcoin. The technical bugs, I'm pretty sure we can mostly work out. It's not perfect, and the solutions will all involve trade-offs, I'm sure, along the way. But for me, are the people that are going to be essentially responsible for the protocol down the line removed, like generationally removed from us now, are they going to appreciate what we're going to stand for and fight for today?
Possibly not. Once something becomes normal and accepted, and there's been no fight for it for a while, then people sort of sit back on their laurels. I mean, that is kind of human behaviour.
Yeah, we don't learn from history.
I mean, all I can hope is that I'm dead when that happens. That's all I... and I'm sure I probably will be, so... Yeah, you're probably right. I think that's definitely a possibility, and it would be sad because it would be a really stupid thing to do, but it doesn't mean it won't happen.
Because people can talk about ossifying the code and stuff now. If we ossified the code now, Bitcoin would last 90 years. That's it, because it'd stop.
Yeah.
So for me, it's how is it going to go forward? If I've got another 50 years on this planet, where's Bitcoin going to be in 50 years? I'll be that old dude shouting, no, you're not fucking changing that over my dead body as I'm struggling to breathe and have a heart attack. But yeah, and like I can impart that on my daughter and my children that this is why, these are the fights that we've had and the battles that we've had to get here and stuff. But and people don't remember that, and people's perception of time, like coin clipping in the Roman Empire, at one point would have been absolutely caused outrage, but it became acceptable as things got more comfortable. And if people learnt from history, then the world will be a very different place than it is right now.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Absolutely. But yeah, we will see. So look, we've been on the call for nearly an hour and a half now. Before we close out, is there anything that either we haven't covered that you particularly interested in or wanted to go through, or anything that we've touched on and not gone into enough depth, or just end of had enough, fuck off Max, I want to go and have my dinner?
Oh, I've already had my dinner. We had an early dinner tonight. What have we done? Football, dogs, that little thing called Bitcoin, tattoos. You got any tattoos?
I don't. I'm scared of needles.
It's not even a needle. Man up.
Yeah.
You need the Ripple logo. You need the Ripple logo when you cheat. Otherwise, you're not a real winner.
That'll look nice. I noticed you've got something on the back of your neck. What's that?
My whole back is a single massive piece. And I always said that I would never have tattoos beyond the collar lines or the wrists, so they couldn't be covered up. Yeah, that kind of went out the window when I just constantly started working from home all the time and decided that I'd never want to go stick a suit on again. And it kind of, my back piece kind of got extended up my neck. So yeah, that's that on my neck.
Do you ever get the other thing, other than me being just a complete pussy when it comes to things like that? The other thing for me is like, I get bored of things quickly. So I like, there's never been anything where I've gone, do you know what? I love that so much, other than maybe the Ripple tattoo. But there's nothing else that I really want and just think I want that for the rest of my life, and I'm going to love that for the rest of my life.
See, when we're done recording, I'll show you my back piece. It's a memorial piece to my mother and my family. I stupidly got my surname tattooed across the top of my back when I was like 18 in Old English. So it's kind of like melted into the rest of my back piece now. So everything means something. And the piece on my neck is actually a heart with the silhouettes of me and my mother walking into the distance. So everything on there is like symbolism and means something to me, even though I kind of forget that I've got it.
Yeah,
most of the time until like no, tattoos don't hurt anymore. They used to, but 8-hour sittings. The worst thing is just the pulling of the skin.
Oh really?
Yeah. But the tattoos have come so far in say the last 15, 20 years, and some of the art that you can get now is just mind-blowingly good. So yeah, they're addictive. So yeah.
I've heard that.
So yeah, I thought about starting a sleeve and maybe like some of the economists and the like stuff around Bitcoin, because Bitcoin has played such a massive part of my life now. And then it was like, do I do that or do I go for like Liverpool legends?
In my opinion, not that it makes any fucking difference at all. The Bitcoin thing sounds really cool because it's bigger than just Bitcoin. It is, like you're saying, not only has it played a big part in your life, but it encapsulates so much of what's going on in history. And I feel like this is a moment in history that if we succeed in what we're trying to do, I think should be remembered for hundreds and thousands of years. So, it's special.
I would be remembered as the guy that came forth on the CoinDesk 2014 heroes and villains list of people, just behind Mark Kapales and Warren Buffett in the villains list.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Although I'm pretty sure CoinDesk would let me advertise with them now. But yeah, I'd like to. I'm not even fussed if people forget who I am. If people can point back and say, I use Fastbitcoins to get my first Bitcoins, or I use them to stack my sats up. We've even just added the referral scheme so people can earn sats by referring customers, and we're going to add it so you can refer merchants and stuff to us as well. So people can earn Bitcoin. People seem to forget that as an option as well. So if people can do that, and there's actually a song that I was listening to on my last run, and it's like someone said, you die twice. Once when you're declared dead by a doctor, and the second time is when they mention your name somebody last mentions your name, and then you're truly dead because nobody's ever remembered you or mentioned your name ever again. And I thought, is that egotistical to think that way? And then I thought about it, and that's when I thought I'd rather just people be able to point to the company and say, yeah, I used that. Because I point to Intersango, which is a British exchange that was like, one of the founders was like Amir Taki in 2012, I think it was, buying Bitcoin on there, using faster payments. It was just a doddle. And we went backwards from there, it felt. But now it's different because we've got CoinFloor. Love to see what Obi's doing. Obi's a good friend, and I know they sponsor you, but great to see his turnaround from being a multi-coin exchange.
A shitcoin exchange.
Yeah, to seeing that turnaround into their no BS model. Absolutely love it. There's like XSats, and then there's like the Coin Corner team as well, based out of the Isle of Man. They're doing great stuff. Love to see it. And there's XSats as well, which is being developed, and it's based out here in the UK as well. So we've got lots happening, and hopefully we can start to see more and more people develop cool ways and easy ways and stuff.
I like seeing that what's coming from UK. I've now had a conversation with Obi, and I've had a conversation with you, and the difference between
you can say it. It was nicer talking to me than Obi. You can say it.
Yeah. No, Obi was definitely nicer than you. No, it's so nice to see real people who really care about Bitcoin. And when I listen to like fucking Coinbase and the sort of things that they're putting out, and these shitcoin casinos, it really pisses me off. So it's nice to see now you guys going out, and first of all, it's nice I've spoken to both of you, and you've both spoken your mind. You both said the way you feel. You've said, yes, we have to comply by certain regulations, but you obviously care about Bitcoin. And I like that you're making this more accessible to people, and I like that it's coming from the UK. So, yeah, it's nice to see.
Yeah. Did you see that the CEO of that exchange that we don't like to mention replying to the fake account?
JK Rowling one. JK Trolling.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
That's so funny.
I'm just like, how do you fall for that? Oh. I shouldn't say that, because I'll probably fall for something next week and like smash my head off.
Yeah, that was very funny.
Yeah. The problem is these companies, these like shitcoin exchanges, they've bloated themselves through the good times, and then they found themselves, oh shit, after the crash, now we need to start generating revenues. The only way to do that is by allowing rampant gambling on their platforms. And I'm friends with Saifedean. I don't agree with absolutely everything he says, but I agree with him on a lot when it comes to Bitcoin. I don't really necessarily agree with him on art.
Me too. I'm an artist, and he'd hate my art. He'd absolutely hate it. So I don't agree with him on that either.
So if you've done any Bitcoin art, they have all of the Bitcoin art stuff at CoinFest in Manchester.
I'll do that. Yeah, I have some.
That piece behind me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's our graphic designer, Lee Holland. He exhibits at CoinFest and stuff.
Oh, very
There's
cool.
loads of artists in Britain, so get some bits done and get it displayed. But yeah, there was it the Spectator held a debate against Arthur and Nouriel Roubini in London, or Saifedean was there, I think. It was Andrew Neil that hosted it. I can't remember if it was Nouriel or.
I think I watched this. Yeah.
and I was in the crowd because we went for a steak dinner after, and the night before, and like just the Arthur from BitMEX was just like hyping, and the guy from BitMEX that does their research is next level. He's awesome.
Yes, proper research that.
Yeah. He's awesome. Lovely lad to talk to as well. But then you got Arthur like sat on the stage, like talking about Bitcoin being unhackable and all of that nonsense, like completely ignoring history and everything that came before it. And I thought, you know what? These people aren't really helping Bitcoin.
They're there to make money.
Yeah. Which is fair play.
Yeah.
There's an opportunity. Who am I to say anything otherwise? But it kind of just spelt it out clearly to me, listening to somebody laughing about owning the racetrack, and not having and benefiting from all of the horses in the race. It's a smart way to be and do, but for me, there's more to it than just that.
Yeah, money's nice, and you can't get annoyed at people for wanting to earn it. But for some of us, this is about more. And for some of us, when we're on our deathbed, we want to have made a change in the world and made it better, and making a load of money doesn't necessarily do that.
I've toyed with the idea of what would actually happen if, when you died, all of your wealth just evaporated. Or you could only leave so much. Obviously, people would then transfer it before they died to friends and family in gifts and stuff. But if that was a thing, so basically your death and the capital that you had acquired throughout your life and your assets evaporated.
How many people would stick around?
Yeah, how many people would just accumulate wealth for the sake of accumulating wealth then?
Yeah.
But it's just a scorecard at the end of the day. And as we've touched on, like, he with all the gold makes the rules. If you make all of the gold or acquire and capture all of that value and the gold, how good of a person are you to still stick to the original ideas that you had when you are making the rules? Are you just going to protect yourself, or are you going to stick to keep the status quo?
Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolute.
Yeah. It's all philosophical.
It's true, though. It's true.
Yeah. So, yeah, bit of a random discussion.
That's how I like it. Listen, it's been really great chatting to you.
Even if it was better than Obi.
No. It's Obi's actually paying me now, so he's my new favourite person.
See, the man with all the gold makes the rules.
That's it, exactly. No. It's honestly, it's been awesome speaking to you, and I really like what you're doing. It's something that's getting Bitcoin into the hands of more people, and to my mind, that's what matters. So thanks so much for taking the call. Anytime in the future you have any more releases or anything going on, let me know. And hopefully we'll see you at this, what was it called? Coin
Fest.
Coin Fest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's full of shitcoiners because the organizer likes to keep it free for everybody. So we can allow him to dump people's shitcoin bags to do that. I've got no qualms with him doing that. We are one of the sponsors and stuff. So, it's hopefully we'll see you there. Bring your recording equipment. There'll be people there to capture interviews with and stuff all the time. So
for sure. We can grab a drink and rip on some shitcoiners as well.
Yeah, I think we're doing the lightning powered bar, because through our device you can accept lightning payments. So all of our merchants accept or can accept lightning payments at the point of sale. And I think we're going to be providing the payment processing at the bar at the event as well. I'm not sure if that's still happening or not, but
cool.
So I'll let you buy me a Diet Coke.
All right. We'll get something on the side as well. All right. Nice to speak to you, mate. And hopefully we'll chat again soon. Take care.
Anytime. Cheers, mate.
Cheers.